because this is what software QA testers job, and we really need to understand this one. So if we can spend a minute or 10 to talk about it, I think it will be worth it. Now, can I ask someone to explain about the requirement analysis phase? What is the requirement and what do you do when you receive a requirement? Anyone randomly?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, now I was going to say, yeah, requirement is what we want from a system or application or the software, and what the system application should do or the software should do.
So when you receive a requirement, what do?
You analyze it, read and analyze it to make sure it's non-ambiguous.
Yeah. What else? Just are you just checking the ambiguity of it, or you're checking other things as well?
That it's bounded.
What else?
Testable.
Testable. That's very important. It's testable. All right, good. What about test plan? Can someone explain test plan?
A test plan is basically, it's like a detailed document that's explaining the entire testing and that it needs to be done.
That's good. What's in a typical test plan? It could be joint effort, guys.
Cover
One
page,
person. Yeah.
table of content.
Yeah, keep going.
Production, purpose.
Cover page, table of contents, introductions.
Yeah,
Test purpose, test scope, test approach, test entry criteria, test exit criteria, test environment, yes, test deliverables, test schedules, test tools, test acceptance criteria, and another one,
Okay.
rules and
That's-
responsibilities.
Thank you so much, sister. Can I ask someone to explain what is test entry criteria?
So, yes, can I go?
Please.
So test entry criteria is pretty much everything you need to, before you start entering your testing. Like you need a checklist, you need a network computer.
What else?
The application, testers,
Yeah,
the test data. Everything you need to be able to do the test, basically.
What else? You guys are missing a couple of important things.
Unit and integration testing should be done, and
Should be done.
integration, yes, and test data must be in place.
What
Testing
else?
must be ready and prepared. Test case should be developed. Application should be ready.
Exactly. Without the application, what are you going to test? The application must be ready and in place. What else? Couple of important points you guys are missing.
All the requirements should be approved and defined, first of all.
Right. What else?
Then we'll
Test environment
yes,
has to be set up.
Think of documents. In terms of documents, what are the documents you need in order for you to perform your testing?
required access must be given. How to do access?
Is it a checklist? Do you need a checklist with all that?
Yeah, that's a checklist, your own checklist. No one is going to check whether if you have a checklist or not, but you should have your checklist before you get into actual testing. So you guys have mentioned about physical application must be available. That's good. Testers must be available. Test data and network connectivity. These are good. What about test cases, test plan, requirement traceability metrics? The ones that is front of you right now. These are the things must be in place as well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yes.
literally like first 4 bullet point and the 5th one, all of them should be in place before you go and start your testing.
Okay, so the test case, RTM, and those other few things after, that's all part of the test plan.
That's part of your
Okay.
test entry criteria. These are the things you must have from the requirement. You need the requirement, you need the test plan, you need the test cases, you need RTM, you need to have your test environment ready. All of the above must be there before you start your actual testing. Cool. Now let's talk about test exit criteria. Can someone new, please?
Don't we have to make sure that all the requirements are covered and making sure the test cases are passed and executed, right?
Are you asking me or are you telling me?
I'm telling you.
Then it sounded like a question to me. So when you're answering something in the interview, it should sound like an answer, not a question. Otherwise, it would be a problem, conflicting. So what would be your answer?
So my answer would be that the test cases must be passed and executed, and the requirements must and the functionalities must be covered.
Okay, what else?
All the bugs are fixed and closed.
All the defects or some of the defects or most of the defects?
All the defects, and unless a defect was deferred.
Okay.
High priority defects are closed.
Exactly. This is the right wording, because it is impossible to fix and close all the defects. So you should say that all the high and medium priority defects must be fixed, retested, and closed. Low priority bugs can be deferred to future releases, which is fine. You would never see a high priority bugs or blockers being deferred. If something is high in priority, they will fix it before we complete our testing. Medium, some cases they would be okay having some medium bugs, medium priority bugs. Low priority bugs usually takes months, years to be fixed. So that's good. All right, so seems like you guys have understanding of test plan. Now, who creates test plan? If someone asks you in an interview, did you create physical test plans? What would you say?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. Sometimes I hear people saying, okay, test plan is something created by test lead, so I did not create it. That's a wrong answer. No one is going to give you a 6-figure job when I'm talking about US, when you don't know how to create a test plan. And there is no reason why you shouldn't create a test plan. So you can say, yes, I have created a test plan multiple times. Then if they ask you, how did you create it? You can tell them about everything we talked about. And test plan is something usually gives you a job when it comes to interview. If they ask you anything about test plan, don't just stop by explaining the definition of test plan. talk about what is test plan, then talk about what's in it and everything in details. Let them see how good you are. Like these are the things, right? Documentation, like test plan is a good document. Everybody likes to have a test plan in place. So if they ask you in the interview anything about test plan, give them everything you know about test plan. They'll be impressed. They will ask you follow-up questions, and you want to eat up as much as time possible in the interview for the topics you're comfortable with, and this is one of them. So, cool. Now, test plan can be created on your own, or it could be a team effort. Regardless, whatever you say, it's not going to be wrong answer. Your environment, your company, you work the way your company works. No one knows how your company works. So you can tell them anything, but be confident. Do not change your answers. Be strong when you're giving an answer. So I honestly, I created test plan on my own. I created test plan with the team effort, things like this. So either one is fine. Usually there are templates, right? Or you can Google something, find a test plan template and start modifying it. Or usually a company, they usually have their internal template. You can just modify it accordingly. Or you can create one from scratch. You never have to create one from scratch. There's a template there for everything. Cool, moving on. Let's talk about test cases. What is test cases and how do you create a test case?
So we create the test cases from a requirement to validate the requirement, whatever requirement was given by the customer. If we have met that requirement in that software.
How do you, someone else, how do you create a test case?
I can add on. So you create test cases by being creative and trying to break the system.
Your voice is kind of low, brother. Is it possible to turn it up a little bit?
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, a little better.
Sorry, I have my computer down there.
Okay. So you were saying, what was your answer?
I was adding on to what the other brother said. The way you create test cases is by being creative and trying to break the system. Depending on the requirement, making sure of trying to figure out all different types of scenarios to see if if there's a defect that you can find.
Okay. So is test cases optional thing, or this is something you must do?
No, it's definitely something you must do.
Okay. So when you started by saying being creative, it sounded like it's an optional thing or something that good to have or something like that. I would think like, I don't know. I would think we should give a better answer.
Okay.
Okay. But that's fine. Let's move on and let's talk about how do you create test cases? What's in test cases? What are the different fields and attribute in test case?
Can I say, brother?
Sure.
For a test case, as you understand, it is a step-by-step process of testing a requirement of the software. So for testing a test case, we need descriptions of the requirement, test steps, test data, expect result, actual result, status, date, and created by whom. That's all contained in creating a test case. Is it okay?
Nice. Very good. Very good. Now, what is a good test case in your opinion? Someone else, what is a good test case? How do you create a good test case?
We break down the requirement as much as possible and write down more test cases for each requirement. Try to find out as much as we can break it down.
Okay, someone else. What is a good test case, in your opinion?
That can break the system.
Okay. But that is oversimplifying. If you have to explain how can a test case breaks the system, how would you define it?
It's one that can find bugs or defects.
Again, you're oversimplifying. Your mind is in the right place, but I think interviewer would like to know more in details.
And test cases should have only necessary and valid steps.
A test case also need to have invalid steps, invalid scenarios.
So negative.
By setting, oh,
What is a complete test case in your opinion? What is a complete test case?
Is it okay? So negative and positive test cases.
Yeah, a test case that,
sorry, can I?
yeah,
When it is executed, from my opinion, it is a good test case.
Alright.
Every requirement is executed.
when expected result match with the actual result.
that's a positive outcome of a test case. Tuvalbai, do you have any input on this?
It should be reproducible.
Reproducible, yes. Also a test case that covers negative, positive, boundary value scenarios. A test case that covers every aspect of the testing, corner case, not just the positive scenario. This is something you consider as a good test case. Just writing a test case doesn't make you a tester. You need to think outside the box. You need to make sure your test case is covering every angle. Test case is covering the requirement from every angle. Similarly, if I ask you guys, what is a good tester? What is the quality of a good tester?
Who cover
So-
both negative and positive scenarios.
No, I'm talking about a physical person. What is it?
They think outside the box.
That's one of it, yeah. What is a good tester?
Detailed oriented.
Exactly.
Who covers all the aspects of the requirement in test cases.
Yeah, all of these are good answers. All right, moving on. Why do we need RTM?
It shows us a map between the test cases and the requirement.
Okay. Yeah.
It
So
also
basically,
shows us that every requirement has a test case.
exactly. So they could ask you something tricky. They could say like, how do you ensure your requirements are covered with your test cases? So that's when you can just say RTM. RTM ensures that the test coverage, basically. Cool. This is good. This is simple enough. Let's talk about test environment. how do you configure your test environment? How do you ensure that test environment is ready?
When all checklist of the necessary documents, tools, etc. are ready, make sure your hardware, software, applications, server, network, configured, testers, test plan, test case, all are in place. Then we can say we have created a test environment.
Yeah, it's very similar to test entry criteria. Test environment and test entry criteria is very similar. I would say test environment is more the platform where you're going to perform your testing. So that is software and hardware, ensuring that connectivity is there, software is there, hardware is there. Cool. We're going to end it in a second. This is good practice, good exercise, guys. So defect, if we talk about defect lifecycle, before that, like, what do you do when you find a defect? What is the very first thing you do when you find a defect?
Make sure it's a legitimate defect, reproduce it.
Exactly.
At least 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, we reproduce it a couple of times to make sure it's valid defect. And why do we do that? Like, we find a defect, we should be able to log it. Why do we take the time to reproduce it? What is the reason behind it? Anyone knows?
False positive sometimes.
Yeah.
You might
Yeah.
make a mistake.
Sorry.
Sorry. You might have made a mistake.
That's one thing. There could be others as well. So what happens is, oftentimes, like, we log a defect, we report it, send it to the developers, and then we come back and we're not able to reproduce it. And or like, we log the defect and assign it to developers, and we go about our day, we start doing other things, and then we hear back from the developer saying, hey, you logged a defect, it's not valid, I'm not able to reproduce. So that's why we need to reproduce it multiple times to ensure that it is a valid defect. And why we're not able to reproduce, sometimes there could be environmental issue. For example, server is down or something like that. And we assume that's a defect in our application, but which is not the case. This was, it was a glitch in the server. And we logged it and we turn around, they reboot the server and everything was good. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, you can have your network issue or something like that. You're trying to load a page and it's not loading. You're assuming it's a defect, but there was like network connectivity issue. That's another thing. The other thing could be like cache issue. If you guys are familiar with it, temporary file in your browser gets stored, and sometimes that causes issue. So that's another thing. So the ideal situation is, like, when you find a defect, you should test it incognito mode, like private browser mode. So that doesn't carry any cookies or temporary files. That's where you can revalidate it and ensure that's a valid bug, and then you log it. As you become pro in this field, you will be able to judge it better. You may not need to reproduce it multiple times. You would know when you find a defect, hey, this is a valid defect, functional issue. It's not those glitches or network issues. But, this is something you need to learn. So that's good. Can we talk about defect lifecycle for a minute? Who can explain defect lifecycle? Anyone? Someone new would be nice. All right, guys.
If nobody's coming out, I could give it a try.
Sure.
So we basically, after finding a defect, we assign it to a developer, and then we obviously open it first, and then assign it to a developer, and then when it gets fixed, then we verify it, and then it gets closed. And then sometimes after when it gets fixed, we try it again, we double check again, and then it sometimes goes to, if it's not very major, if it's not a major bug, then it gets to deferred. Sorry, it wasn't a very good explanation, but
that's good enough, but it can do better. Anyone else quickly?
Can I try?
Yeah, that would be the last question, and we need to move on.
Okay,
Go on.
so when we find a bug or a defect, we open it, and then it is assigned to a person, a developer, and if the developer fixed it, then we verify it and we close it. Now, if it is not fixed, it will be reopened and assigned to the same developer, and if he can fix it, then we follow through the verified and closed path. But if he say that it is not a major issue, then it is deferred and it is left for in a later time to be fixed. Now the developer can also say defect is not a real defect and he reject it, so that is rejected.
Thank you very much for your explanation. And can someone talk about reopen? Why do we reopen a defect?
after fixing it, if it comes up again, if the defect still exists, then it gets reopened.
Cool. Now, looking at this workflow, do you think this is the standard? Is this the way everyone works, or there can be changes?
I feel like there could be changes.
Sorry, could not hear you.
I feel like there could be changes depending on the different companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything you're learning here, like just understand the concept of it. But when you go to your own company, when you get a job, they'll be doing things differently. You just need to know what they're doing and what you learn. You just need to kind of map them and you're good to go. So when we log a defect here, we said the status would be new, but for them, it could be draft or logged or something like that. Usually it's new or draft. And then we have open for other companies, it could be in progress. And they would not even have assigned, they would just have in progress for both of this. And then fixed, it could be fixed, or it could, they can say like in QA or ready for testing or ready for QA, something like that. There are like various statuses people have. So you just need to understand, what it means. That's all. Cool, guys. I think this was very good practice. I had one more question that gets asked in the interview a lot. I just thought of it and then I forgot. It's tied to defect, I think. Okay, if I remember it, I'll tell you. All right, now moving on, guys. We are done. We're done with STLC. Huge milestone, huge milestone. Now you know how to be a tester and what to do. So these are the things we learned, right? Obviously, we did the requirement test plan, test cases, RTM, test environment, then actual testing, defect, and tracking, and all of this. Now, then come reports. Like I said, this is process-oriented job. Now, you need to always show the data. You need to give them a report. Now, usually back in the day, what we used to do is to create a report in Excel sheet, and it looks something like this: sample status report. So it would look like this, or any format you want. They're interested in the data, like the data you have. That's what they're interested in. Usually, a report They want to see like how many test cases you have created, how many test cases executed, how many test cases passed, how many test cases failed, number of defect logged, number of defect open, number of defect closed, number of defects in high priority, medium priority, low priority, and number of tickets in blocker priority. These are the things they're interested in. So this is a template is talking similar stuff. If you look at this, right, overall progress for QA cycle, is your project on time or test execution on time or delayed? Things like this they want to see. So you can see here it's talking about number of test cases planned, number of test cases executed, number of test cases executed overall, things like this, exactly what I said. So your report can be different based on what your manager want to see, what data manager want to see. Report is nothing but data, right? Then can create like, so this is something talking about different section of application scenarios. I don't think it's needed. Instead of that, you can copy your test cases and provide statuses. All of this can be exported from the tool that you use. So depending on your company, whatever they're using, you can even create pie chart or something like this, simple in one page, executed past 25, 6 test cases failed, 6 defects are logged somewhere here. This is just a template. You know, you can create anything you want. Now, nowadays, right, we use actual application, actual Jira. So you can you can get something like let's see. So that's my report. Look at this QA dashboard. And when you come here, you have everything. You have, you can see number of open bugs here. So now like it's a, the report is, instead of in an Excel sheet, I can simply share this with them. Whoever is interested, give them permission. I can simply share this to whoever wants to see. I can give them access to it from here. So this is better now, this tool. And if you want to send a physical Excel sheet, you can just export it. You can export this report, or you can create a different report and export it. This one place you really have everything. Open bugs, tickets in QA. So you're talking about your section, how many tickets for you to test, how many tickets you have created test cases, how many tickets you did not create test cases yet, and all of these different type of tickets and its statuses and whatnot. So this is another type of report, or you can simply go and create something from here, and you see there's an export button. Whatever you want to create here, you can simply export it, and it's going to be beautiful. So those of you are good with Excel, you're going to be able to create really nice report. But you know, industries are moving away from Excel. Everyone is using good tools, so you can create something pretty like this. Excuse me. Okay, what else? So just to give you an example, like how advanced the industry is right now. So when I joined this industry, we would be sending a daily status report daily to the management and project PM and whatnot. Daily we'd be saying like, okay, this is the progress, this is how many test cases we've executed, these are the bugs we log, these are the high power open bugs, these are low, and all kind of crap we used to send out daily or weekly and things like this in Excel sheet or in an email. Now no one cares. Everything is in the tool, everything is in one place. If they need to see the data, they can simply go and start creating their own report the way they want to see it. There are filters in place, like look at this, like I have so many filters here. So anything and everything I want to see, I can simply go here and see that, or I can create my own filter. And similarly, all the managers, they can come here, and this is a query. This is called jQuery. Either you can fetch anything you want. So here we are saying project equals to this. So we're talking about for this project, this team, and these are the statuses we want to see. No, they don't want to see this. So these are the status they do not want to see, but they want to see everything else. So you can, the management and everybody, they can come in and they can start creating their own report, or you can create for them and you can export it, or you can just give them like share button. You can just give them access to it. That's it. That's it. Simple. Like you can see here, this is like different tickets and assignee reporter status, right? These are the things they're interested in. And you can add more columns if you want. You can simply go here and add more. There are so many more fields here. So as you can see, reporting became really, really easy now. You just need to play around. That's all. So this is that. Now, the other thing is meetings, right? So as part of STLC, you do everything else plus you do meetings. So you participate in meetings. There is a thing called daily stand-up meeting. In this meeting, it's usually 15 minutes long. It's also known as daily scrum meeting. So whenever you hear daily stand-up or daily scrum meeting, that's when you know this is something only 15 minutes long, and it happens very beginning of the day. So if you start at 9 o'clock, this meeting will start at 9 or 8:45. And that's where everybody gets together and talk about their day, what they're planning and working on, and what they have done yesterday, and if they have any challenges. That's a meeting you participate. Then there is sprint planning meeting, meaning this is the meeting you plan your work for the sprint. Sprint is a time frame. So basically, this meeting happens every other week. So this is where you plan your work with the entire team, that what is the work that you're going to be doing for next 15 days or so. Then once that is done, you perform a sprint review meeting. So this review meeting is nothing but once the entire 15 days of work done, then that's when you do review to ensure everything is good. Then retro meeting, I'm just going light on this. We're going to talk about it more when we get to it. Right now, I'm just giving you ideas. Retro meeting, this is where you talk about, this is a meeting happens every 15 days again. Excuse me. To talk about how your work cycle went and what could be done better in the next work cycle and what went well, things like this. Backlog grooming meeting. So this is a meeting where you groom your tickets, basically the tickets you have, you go through it, you finalize it, you kind of refine it, things like this. There's another call called requirement understanding call there. This is where, requirement gets talked about, requirement gets explained by the business analyst so that everyone understands the requirement. Defect triage call. So this is an important call, defect triage call. Triage, 3 teams involvement in triage. So team 1 is dev, team 2 is QA, team 3 is business. So 3 team gets together to review the defects and assign and things like this. So basically prioritizing defects. This 3 team gets together to review and prioritize those defects. Other calls are project status call and then QA sign up calls. So as you can see, there's so many calls and listed here, and there are more calls that is not listed here. Now, do you attend all these calls, or does your company have all of these calls? The answer is no. Every single company nowadays will have stand-up call, and everything else, it depends on the company that you work on. But at least from this list, you will have at least four or five different meetings that is being held by your company. So we'll explain those meetings later when we practice Agile. So for now, just understand, as part of STLC, you will be part of many meetings, which you need to be part of. I can give you a small example. Are you guys still with me, or everybody's gone or sleeping?
No, we're still with you. Yeah.
Still with you,
Cool.
brother.
Nice, brother. All right, so I can show you something. I can show you. If I show you my calendar, so you can probably see a little bit about different meetings. So this was my day. So if you look at my day, like I had daily stand up for this team. Then I have oh man. So I have like 10 daily stand-ups here. So you will not see 10 daily stand-up because I work in 10 different teams. Usually you'll have one daily stand-up first thing in the morning. You can see for me is 8 a.m. And then I have many more daily stand-ups. And then there is a meeting called SOS. This is Scrum of Scrum. So this is where all the teams get together and talk about their project, their work, and their challenges. Unfortunately, here I don't have like refinement, or let me see next day. Yeah, you can see this team is doing backlog refinement meeting. That's another type of meeting. Just know the name for now, and then we are going to, we'll explain this eventually. Not seeing any retro here. Not seeing any retro meeting or planning. Okay, but you get the point, right? Usually those meeting happens every 15 days, but the daily stand-up happens every day. Daily stand-up happens every day. Everything else is not every day, basically. All right, moving on. And we are running late as well. So we're gonna probably end it in a minute. But with this, we conclude STLC. STLC is it's done. Next thing is we're gonna learn about different type of testing. So if we go back here, now, you sit here performing your system testing process, looking at it, like sitting here, what do? You do all of these things, right? From top to bottom, from the requirement phase to participating in meetings. That's what you do. So I hope you have the clarity when we talk about SDLC and system testing phase. What do you do? I hope you have the clarity by now. Now, from next week, what we're going to discuss about different type of testing. So when it comes to testing, right here, we're saying executing system test. What does that mean? Executing system test, is it just one thing or is many things? Actually, the answer is many things. There are different type of testing you perform, and if I show you quickly, you can see right here, testing. So this is what we're going to learn next week. There are at least 30 different type of testing to be performed, and we're going to talk about it next week. All right. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and stop recording. Do you guys have any questions?